GOP loyalty pledge draws heat from 2024 candidates. So the Republican National Committee has a loyalty pledge, as they've had, I think, since the beginning of time. It's only become significant in the era of Trump. But it has a growing list of detractors among 2024 candidates. In the latest sign, the Republican Party infighting and reluctance to coalesce around a former President Trump if he is the eventual nominee. Now, the reason I said it's because it's been there since the beginning of time. It really has been there since the beginning of time. And it has never been risen as a big issue, in my memory anyway, during a primary election, because you're fighting tooth and nail. You hate these people. This is a competition in the highest possible manner. And nobody wants to say, oh yeah, if I lose, I'm going to go endorse the other guy. Like, it just doesn't. That's a bad time to ask the question, is my point.
Right.
But it has to come up because in 2016, Trump was like, I don't know. I don't know. and the RNC let him on the stage because he was like, yes, I'll do that. And then they asked him on stage and he was like, man, I don't know. We'll see.
And here's the other thing. I don't know if you fellas caught on to this, but La Savita sort of made news on our show because he was asked that question and he didn't answer it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think he raised a pretty good point, which was that, like,
ask everybody else.
How about you ask everybody else? I mean, Chris Christie on our show said that Donald Trump had disqualified himself, right?
Yeah.
So is Chris Christie going to sign that loyalty pledge if Donald Trump's the nominee? Well, probably not.
And Chris said it here,
right?
That he was like, I'll take it with all the seriousness that Donald Trump took it,
right?
Which is sure.
So then it is kind of just a joke.
So it seems to me like the RNC is doing its job.
Right.
They're doing what they need to
for
do.
the party.
For the party. Their only job is to make sure that they have a consolidated party post-nomination. So they're doing what they need to do. It's the same stuff that everybody, like, to act as though this is something that's like new or interesting or like edgy that Rana is doing over at the RNC. It's not. Like, we've done this stuff. We used to do these things in state in Senate races all the time,
right?
Where you'd have a kumbaya moment where everybody would say, like, I will support whatever, but you don't do it at the height of the primary because you know what the answers are going to be. They're not like great. They're not great.
Yeah.
And that's why the mainstream media is picking up on all of this, is because, like, you ask Ron DeSantis whether he wants Donald Trump to be president right now, he's going to be like, no.
Right.
I want to be president right
now. And Donald Trump would say the same thing of him.
And Trump started all of it in 2016 by making it an issue that actually has to be discussed. Like, before it was like, of course, I'm not going to vote for Joe Biden. Like, that's should be. But there was a very, very real discussion happening in 2016 about whether Trump would just continue running on an independent ticket, which, by the way, is not really possible. Like, you can't really get, most states have sore loser laws. Most states don't allow you to get on ballot access that easy. Like, it's not feasibly all that possible, but somebody continuing to run just rhetorically, even not on the ballot, creates a rift within the party that has a problem with consolidation ultimately against the consolidated Fetterman Democrat Party.
Yeah.
So that's why all this stuff is coming up. I can't blame them. I think they're doing the right thing by trying to get the pledge.
Sign it.
Look, just sign the pledge. We'll be you know what? We will be the arbiters of that.
It's up to the voters to decide that.
If Republican primary voters who are the most angst-ridden about a Biden administration can sense for a second that you're not in this to try to beat him,
right,
they'll let you know.
What always sort of bothers me about this stuff is the people who are giving the RNC a hard time. Like, they're literally there just to conduct the election.
Yeah.
And honestly, they're doing a phenomenal job. I mean, if you follow the RNC Research Twitter account, if you don't, I highly recommend that you do. They put out so much content. Everybody working the press over there is working their ass off.
And the debate rules. The debate rules, I think, which are absolutely huge, right? Like, the Democrats did it so well in 2020, where they had these candidates who not only had to poll well, but they had to bring in a certain number of donors.
Yeah, and ours is like 40,000 donors, which I think, honestly, is a very attainable goal.
Very attainable.
For a serious presidential candidate.
And it'll benefit whoever is the nominee eventually. So, like, that's huge.
Yep, I totally agree.